The decision by the Japanese Ministry of Defense to accelerate the deployment of the upgraded Type-12 surface-to-ship missile marks a seminal shift in the post-war security posture of Tokyo. Originally scheduled for deployment later in the fiscal year 2026 or early 2027, the confirmation that these advanced systems will begin operations in Kyushu as early as March 2026 underscores a palpable sense of urgency within the government. This acceleration is not merely a logistical adjustment, but a strategic signal aimed directly at the increasingly volatile security environment surrounding the Nansei Islands and the East China Sea. As the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force prepares to integrate this extended-range capability, the move signifies a definitive transition from a strictly passive defensive stance to one incorporating active deterrence and counterstrike potential. At the heart of this strategic evolution lies the technological transformation of the Type-12 missile itself. Manufactured by Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, the original Type-12 was designed primarily as a coastal defense asset with a range of approximately 200 kilometers. Its primary function was to target hostile naval vessels approaching the Japanese coastline. However, the upgraded version represents a complete overhaul rather than a simple iteration. The new missile features a significantly elongated range, initially projected to reach 900 kilometers and eventually extending to 1,200 or even 1,500 kilometers in subsequent development phases. This range extension allows the Japan Self-Defense Forces to engage targets from well beyond the reach of enemy air defense systems, a doctrine known as standoff defense. Technologically, the upgraded Type-12 diverges sharply from the cylindrical fuselage of its predecessor. Visualizations and models released by defense officials reveal a stealth-oriented design with a trapezoidal cross-section and intake capabilities that reduce the radar cross-section of the weapon. This design philosophy mirrors that of modern air-launched cruise missiles like the American AGM-158 JAS-M or the European Storm Shadow. The integration of large folding wings provides increased lift, enabling the missile to perform complex maneuvers and loiter over a target area before striking. Furthermore, the propulsion system has been upgraded from a turbojet to a more fuel-efficient turbofan engine, which is the critical factor enabling the drastic increase in operational range. The launch platform for these missiles retains the high mobility necessary for survivability in a contested island environment. Mounted on heavy-duty 8x8 tactical trucks, the system can be rapidly repositioned to avoid counter-battery fire or detection. This mobility is essential for the island defense strategy, where static assets are vulnerable to the massive ballistic missile inventory of potential adversaries. The ability to shoot and scoot allows the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force to maintain a persistent threat vector across the archipelagic geography of the Ryukyu chain. Strategically, the deployment of these missiles to Kyushu and potentially the Nansei Islands fundamentally alters the geometry of the battlefield in the Western Pacific. With a range exceeding 1,000 kilometers, a Type-12 battery positioned in Kyushu can effectively cover the entirety of the East China Sea, the Korean Strait, and deep into the contestable waters surrounding Taiwan. This creates an anti-access and area denial bubble of Japan's own making. It forces any naval adversary to operate under the constant threat of saturation strikes from land-based mobile launchers that are difficult to detect and destroy. This development serves as the materialization of the Counterstrike capability explicitly stated in the 3 key security documents updated by the Japanese government in late 2022. While political discourse in Tokyo carefully frames this as a necessary measure for self-defense to prevent an armed attack, the capability inherently blurs the line between offensive and defensive weaponry. The upgraded Type-12 is equipped with advanced data link systems that allow for in-flight target updates. This feature implies that the missile can be guided by external sensors, such as maritime patrol aircraft, naval vessels, or satellites, to strike not just moving ships, but also fixed land targets such as missile bases, command centers, or logistical hubs deep within hostile territory. Critics and defense analysts point out that while the hardware is impressive, the effectiveness of this long-range strike capability depends heavily on the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance architecture supporting it. A missile with a 1,000-kilometer range is only as good as the sensor that locates the target. Currently, Japan relies significantly on the United States for deep strike targeting data. The recent struggles with the H-3 launch vehicle and the ongoing development of a sovereign satellite constellation highlight a critical gap. Until Japan establishes a robust, independent kill chain capable of real-time target acquisition at such extended ranges, the full potential of the Type-12 upgrade remains partially tethered to alliance integration rather than complete autonomy. The procurement of American Tomahawk cruise missiles set to equip maritime self-defense force destroyers in the same timeframe often draws comparisons to the Type-12 program. However, the acquisition of 400 Tomahawks is widely viewed as a stopgap measure, a bridge to cover the capability gap until domestic production can scale up. The Tomahawk Block 4 and Block 5 offer proven combat reliability and immediate availability, which the unproven Type-12 upgrade cannot yet claim. Nevertheless, the heavy investment in the domestic program reflects a deeper imperative for industrial sovereignty. By nurturing the development capacity of Mitsubishi Heavy Industries and the domestic supply chain, Tokyo ensures that its stockpiles are not dictated by the production schedules or political whims of foreign suppliers. Financial commitment to this program is substantial. The record defense budget of over 9.04 trillion Japanese yen for the fiscal year 2026 allocates massive funding specifically for the mass production of standoff missiles. The government has prioritized this over other conventional platforms, signaling an acceptance that future conflicts will be decided by long-range precision fires rather than close-quarters tank battles or dogfights. This budgetary shift has necessitated controversial revenue-raising measures, including corporate and income tax hikes, which remain a point of contention in domestic politics. However, the administration argues that the security environment, characterized by the rapid military modernization of neighboring powers, leaves no alternative. From a geopolitical perspective, the early deployment is a direct response to the increasing frequency of incursions and naval maneuvers by China and Russia near Japanese territorial waters. The presence of the Liaoning Carrier Strike Group in the Pacific and joint bomber patrols by Moscow and Beijing have demonstrated that the geographical buffer Japan once enjoyed is eroding. The upgraded Type-12 acts as a conventional deterrent, raising the cost of aggression. It signals to Beijing and Pyongyang that any attempt to alter the status quo by force will be met with a capability that can strike back at the source of the aggression, complicating their operational planning. There is also a nuanced diplomatic message embedded in this deployment. By fielding a credible indigenous strike capability, Japan elevates its standing within the US-Japan alliance. It transforms the relationship from one where the United States is the sole provider of the spear, while Japan provides the shield, to a more integrated partnership where Tokyo contributes its own offensive fires. This integration was evident in recent Joint Command Post exercises, where the coordination of long-range strikes was a focal point. Ultimately, the accelerated rollout of the upgraded Type-12 surface-to-ship missile is more than a procurement milestone. It is the physical manifestation of a Japan that is shedding its post-war inhibitions regarding power projection. It represents a pragmatic, if somber, acknowledgement that soft power and economic diplomacy alone are insufficient to guarantee sovereignty in the current era. As these stealthy, long-range missiles roll out onto the bases of Kyushu in March 2026, they will stand as silent sentinels of a new, more muscular Japanese defense strategy, one that prioritizes technological superiority and the credible threat of force to maintain the fragile peace of the Indo-Pacific.